TYFU.
Okay, Marilla, are you ready to record?
I'm so ready.
Okay.
I've been ready since I woke up this morning.
Oh, have you been thinking about it?
Yes.
Looking forward to it, I hope.
Looking forward to it. I'm just having a blast.
Me too. So are our listeners, it seems like.
I hope so, because they don't have a choice at this point. They're in.
I know. They've joined the cult.
It's true. Surprise, this is a cult.
I'm going to rip the envelope this week because you've been hogging them.
Okay. I ripped the envelope once, and all of a sudden I'm hogging it. Go ahead,
All right,
Beth.
here we go. And the topic this week, Marilla, chosen by you is You are what you sell.
Throwing me right under the bus.
I am. Well, I mentioned that because I'm curious as to how the topic came to your mind.
Well, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, it came to my mind when discussing with another business owner about our day that we had, the traffic for the day. And we were talking about how it was a particularly slow day and how, as much as we try not to let this happen, it's very easy to feel down in the dumps at the end of a day when no one has come into your store.
Oh, yeah.
And feel like you are a total failure, even though it's just 8 hours of your life or however long you're open.
Yeah.
It can be so discouraging, especially if you didn't make what you wanted to make in sales, and then you feel like a failure. You feel like, what am I missing? And then your mood is affected. And then trying to dissociate that and then go home to your family or go on with your day can be really challenging, and to not take that mood with you. And I think that's something that I strive to do all the time, is not to be in a great mood when I have a great day in sales and a bad mood when I have a bad day in sales. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah. This reminds me a little bit of the conversation we had with Jim Hogan, episode 7,
Yes.
season 1, I think.
Very nice.
I think it was that. But in any case, the topic we approached Jim with was something along the lines of, are you running the business or is the business running you? And this particular situation is part of that, like a slow sales day can run you right into the ground emotionally.
Right.
And I don't think it matters really if you're in retail like we are, or if you're in food service or any number of things where the business ebbs and flows. And sometimes it ebbs and flows in ways that are completely beyond your control. But that doesn't stop us wanting to figure it out and control it, and question every decision that we ever made in our entire business careers.
Right. And it doesn't,
this moment.
even though, even when tomorrow could be a great day, and literally you could be one sleep away from having a phenomenal busy day and being like, I've figured it out. It's all fine.
I'm a success.
I am a success. Perfect.
You ever find that people might compliment you a zillion times a day, and it sort of goes one in an ear and out the other? And if somebody says something that's a little triggering, or you take a little bit of umbrage to, it sits with you and it weighs heavy in your brain. Does that happen to you? No.
I just take it. I just take it to you and I tell you about it, and then it's gone from me. But I do have to. I find that I do have to release those things. I don't come to my family and friends and be like, oh my God, listen to all these nice things someone said about me.
I do that.
But when someone is a little bit salty or a little bit sassy with me, I'm going to get that off my chest. And
yeah, I bring that up just because a good day won't resonate with me and change my mood as dramatically as a bad day will.
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's why I bring it up, because I can have 10 good days in a row and I just don't notice them as much as the random off day.
See, I am little Miss Optimistic. And so sometimes, we could be having a terrible day And what has helped me recently is looking at our terrible day and then going back in time and seeing what a terrible day looked like.
Oh, sure.
Like 3 years ago. And it really helps to kind of smack me in the face and say, okay, you should be so lucky that this is your terrible day, because thankfully our terrible days now are much less terrible than our first year of business.
Our first year in business, maybe even our first 2 years in business, there were days where they were $0 days, right? Absolute rock bottom $0 days. And that wasn't all that unusual at the time, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right? In the early days.
It's true.
So now it's become sort of a joke to me, like, ha ha ha, it was slow, but it wasn't a $0 day. I haven't had a $0 day in ages, knock on wood.
Yeah. Are we jinxing ourselves?
I know, actually. Should I even talk about this?
I open for the week tomorrow, and dang.
But like even on a snowstorm day or something, you know what I mean? Or there's a tornado warning or something. It's still not a $0 day.
Some fool still comes to Beth's store
in a state of emergency
and gets something framed.
That actually does happen sometimes. And I'm like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah.
You're preventing me from having a $0 day. And I thank you very much.
That's right.
But that does help me put it in perspective a little bit. Like the worst day hopefully will not happen again.
And when you put it in perspective, does it make you feel better? That is the question.
Slightly.
Yeah. It's like,
does it work? I mean, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But there's always the terror in the back of the mind looming that for some reason there's going to be another, statewide shutdown or something like that. I think it's just so important because it is the name of the game that, like, especially if you're in retail or any kind of sales, that some days are banner days and some days are just duds,
bottom of the barrel. It's just awful. And it's something that I love about what I do, the adventure and the roller coaster of it, but I don't think it's healthy. I don't feel my healthiest when I'm relying on that roller coaster to dictate how I view myself.
You got to find some inner stability.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that, I can't be what I sell in that sense.
When I'm having a slower day, there's a couple of things that could happen in my mind. And one of them is that I start questioning the entire endeavor.
Right. Right.
Why aren't people here? It's because what I sell is worthless garbage and I should never have gotten into this business.
Of course.
Right. I go straight to over the top.
Exactly.
Right. And then I'm like, well, it's not worthless garbage. It's carefully curated, beautiful merchandise that has value. The problem is I just don't work hard enough. I just don't want it badly enough. I just need to double down.
It's not the stuff that's a failure. It's you that's personally. A failure. Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I start talking to myself like, I'm in some kind of like Amway situation where like I just keep committing to the product against all odds. Eventually I'll own a mansion in Boca. Yeah.
Because obviously.
And I'll drive a Cadillac and all these things that I suppose are the American dream.
As one dreams about. Yeah. And yes, the fear that comes in and the self-doubt that comes in is just, I think it's natural, but I don't know that it's worth it.
What, the self-loathing?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't pay?
I'm just not a sure that you're getting paid enough for that. Yeah, it's just like, I do that. We all do it. We all do that where we're like, okay, what am I even doing? How could I be so stupid as to think that this would work? Maybe all those old men that came in my store and told me
you
that
it wasn't worth it. You should just like, why haven't I listened to all that? You should just advice.
Exactly. But I find at my old age that
I can't even not laugh at that.
I just sleep on it. Sleep on it.
Yeah.
Work hard. Stay the course, but sleep on it. It's not. This is what I do sometimes. I'm like, okay, even if this failed so hard and I had to shut down tomorrow, would I still be able to live with myself? The answer is yes. I would go on.
Well, this is really important. I think we live in a culture that equates money with self-worth, like financial worth with personal worth, your value as a human being, right?
Yeah, your net worth.
Yeah.
We can all Google that.
But we
Let's
sometimes
Google
forget.
Kelly Walker's net worth.
Good idea. And then we'll be, oh, too bad for Kelly Walker. Yeah. But anyways,
We tend to equate money.
right. And we forget that just having the bravery, the courage, the stamina to run a small business, the creativity to, launch the thing, to wear the many hats that you've been wearing for all these years, that counts for something personally,
as a human being,
even
in
more
your
than the
worth.
dollars.
Yeah.
But I mean, culturally, I just don't think that we see that reflected back at us a lot.
Right. So you're kind of fighting an uphill battle as a storekeeper because you're like sitting there yelling like, I'm worth it. My stuff is worth it. My stuff is worth it. But then when nobody comes in to buy it for, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like, is my stuff worth it? And you know that you've put a lot of work and you've put a lot of energy and you've put a lot of time in this, and that makes it worthy. But if no one's coming in to look at it, if a tree falls in the woods,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because when I buy stuff, I make careful choices for my store. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that any number of our listeners are really doing research on the product and figuring out what the best way to merchandise it and display it is, and how to best price it, and all that kind of stuff that happens in our minds. And when somebody comes into our stores and decides, yes, I want to give you $5, $10, $15, $5,000 dollars for this.
It basically,
it validates.
The dollar doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The dollar amount doesn't matter. It validates this work you've been doing, sale by sale by sale by sale.
Right.
So if that validation doesn't come in, it's like a house of cards if you let it be.
Yes. And it's a slippery slope from like a mental health standpoint, because you're not supposed to do that, but it's truly in real time what it is. You saying that just reminded me, there are some products that I am more emotionally attached to succeeding than others.
Okay, talk about it.
I'm wondering if you have anything like this. So for example, when I sell oatmeal, I feel great about that. I love oatmeal. I'm glad other people like oatmeal. But in the last few months, I got in a new refill, and it's bobby pins. It makes me little to no money. But I've just thought about this refill for the longest time, that you can't go and get a few bobby pins if you need them. You always need to get like this
5,000 bobby pins.
5,000 of them. And a lot of times they come in plastic or with plastic, blah, blah, blah. So at my store, you can come in and get bobby pins by the pound. And I'm going to tell you, it's not my hottest seller.
How many bobby pins are in a pound? Do you even know?
But I will say, when someone comes up to the counter with a little bag of bobby pins, oh my God, it's the most validating experience of my whole day, because I put so much thought into that, and I think it's a good idea. And when someone comes up and actually says, I think this is a good idea too,
By giving you money for it, yeah.
I make like 50 cents on that little bag of bobby pins.
Yeah.
But oh my God, the high that I get from validation is probably unhealthy.
Okay, well, the only thing I can relate to off the top of my head is, say you have a product that's just seems to be a real dud and is not moving, and you've been sitting on it for 6 months, and it's starting to, every time you see it, it's like a personal insult, And then you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to move this, 2 feet this way.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it starts selling. And then I feel like, yes, I'm a merchandising genius.
I knew you guys wanted this.
I know.
Yeah. Right. We just get so
wrapped up in the actual product moving.
Yes. So invested in it. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, professionally as a business owner, it's really good to be wrapped up in it. But where is that line where it's you, like I am the bobby pin, and
yeah. Well, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, yes, definitely our identities are wrapped up in our business. For you, it's just so profound, considering that the business is named after you, right? But there's no real emotional separation between us and our stores, I find. And it's a struggle. But I don't know if it is or how it is different from other people who identify with their career choices.
Well, that's for sure. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a dentist.
Yes, I get really emotional about each cavity. I feel. If I haven't seen as many cavities this month, doesn't mean I'm a failure as a dentist. I don't know if that happens.
We have to have it. We have some dentist listeners. Let us know.
Actually, anybody who's listening who feels a sense of identity with their job, that would be interesting for us to hear about.
Right. And do you ever think it's unhealthy? Is there a line where it's unhealthy and it influences you poorly? Because for me, I very much enjoy having my shop be a part of my identity. Of course, it's great. Until that shop is hurting me with, a $0 day or a flood in the basement or, and I wonder if it's just a micro business problem.
Because you're so close to it.
Because you're so close to it. Because I just saw that Family Dollar is closing a bunch of their Family Dollars.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if anybody's tossing and turning over that, or if it's
besides the employees who are losing their jobs.
Right. Besides the employees, but the owners, who is tossing and turning over that? Is it personal to somebody who made that decision? Because if I made a decision to close one of the 2 stores that I have, it would be ouchy. It would ouchie.
Yeah, more than that.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, if I had to do it, of course I would, but it would be it would feel like losing something near and dear.
And it would feel like a personal failure, am I right?
A failure, right. And my pride would be hurt, all that jazz.
I want to clarify, I don't think it would be a personal failure. But of course, it would feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Beth. Yeah. But it made me wonder, and maybe this is also what kind of had me thinking about this topic, it made me wonder, was that a punch in the gut for somebody?
Or not? Was it just like a spreadsheet? Or
was it just business? Was it just the numbers saying, we'll do better if we do this, and close 10 of these, and then we're good to go. Mm-hmm. All right, good meeting.
Yeah.
That's my hands. Just clapping that away. That problem away. So you mentioned the mansion. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a destination.
I've never actually been to Boca, and I don't think it's the place for me. I just used it as an example.
But I think that this bears a little chit chat because I think we all have dreams of success and what that means, and the very quintessential picture is a big house, a fancy car, and an island, obviously. But, do you start your business because you want a big house and a fancy car and an island?
No, I mean, we talked about this also on the Jim Hogan episode
Yeah,
7,
a little
season
bit.
1.
Yeah.
He mentioned like none of us really started this because we thought there would be riches at the end. In fact, foolishly, riches was really the afterthought for me. Like when I say foolishly, I'm like, this is because our culture tells us it's all about the dollars. It's all about the dollars.
Right.
But it's not for me.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I don't want it to be financially successful.
Yeah, I certainly do. I'm putting that out there. I would like to pay for my groceries with this endeavor, and my island. But yeah, I think it comes back to that, like your business being tied up in your identity, because most of us start our businesses because of something related to our personality and our identity, or that we identify with. And I think where the financial reward comes in is when you're like, wouldn't it be amazing to be financially taken care of doing something that is a part of my identity and my passion.
Yeah. So then if that thing looks like it's fragile or in danger or not validated by the community, or, it sort of eats away at your sense of identity in a backwards kind of undermining way.
Yeah.
Or it could.
Right. Which leads me back to our talking about, is it personal when a big company decides to close a bunch of locations? Maybe not, because chances are the person that's making that decision didn't get into that business because dollar stores were their passion and they're part of their identity.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't.
I think it's got to be different.
It has to be, because I think even if I had 50 locations,
the why is still very important to you, and the why is not necessarily
still part of who I am.
Just the financial success.
Right. So I think even if I had like 50 locations and I was like, okay, we got to close 10 of these, I think it would still hurt beyond the financial aspect, because the mission is so much a part of who I am.
Well, you'd be closing them to improve the financial part, right?
Exactly.
That's the reason that why you'd close them. But it would hurt you because you're losing your access to different communities, your and the jobs, the people that you care about who work for you.
Right. Interesting.
Okay, so right now, I don't mind saying this out loud. I think I've already told you, and why not tell the world? Last year, my business was up 10% in gross sales.
Right, this time of year.
Right.
Yahoo.
Was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
gangbusters. I think we were too.
Yeah.
Gangbusters.
This year, currently, I am down 2%.
High five for the roller coaster.
I am thinking to myself, okay, I've got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. A lot of it might be completely beyond my control. We've established that. But the fact that it's down 2% when it was up 10%.
You want me to make you feel better? You want me to tell you how down I am?
Oh,
no.
Are you ready for the world to know, Marilla?
I could give a ballpark, but I just opened a second store.
Yeah.
I mean, we buckled up. We put our diapers on for this winter because we knew, even though to the outside world, it's like, oh, you opened a second store.
Right. You must be doing
so
great.
successful. You must be paying your employees so much. The reality of making that decision is that I went in with open eyes knowing that I would have to go do with less this season.
But there's something about making less money that feels like a demotion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It feels like you have screwed up at work and now you need to take a pay cut.
Yeah. We're docking your pay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So it feels like a performance review. that my store is doing less. I don't have a good excuse for it like you do.
Oh, right. And I mean, I'm just making it up too. Who knows? Maybe it's just that I'm just on a road to failure. I don't know. But yes, it definitely, it feels like we're the boss. So we don't have anybody to be like, hey, can you do this better, this better, this better? Thanks. That's what I want you to do in the next quarter. We have to just look at that number being a little bit down or being wherever it is and be like, okay, something has to be done about this.
And I have no idea what.
I know my performance is bad, but I don't know what you want from me. Like, there's no feedback there when you're just looking at that. It's an interesting feeling. And
you mean there's no feedback from the customer? It's just
there's no feedback from that number.
Yes.
Just staring at you in your books. And I think, I don't know, but I've spoken to a lot of business owners in this last winter season between Christmas and this recording that have felt like a little down this winter because of that. Like, sometimes it's just not the same as last year. And when you're comparing it to the 10% up, it can be a little demoralizing.
Which is still, by the way, way up from 2 years ago.
Right.
But somehow this feels like a failure to me.
So how are you coping with that?
I'm checking the numbers every day.
Of course.
Sometimes like multiple times a day.
Yeah, checking
to look at that percentage.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the way to handle that, here's the business advice, is to just check your numbers every 30 minutes.
F5, and see if anything's changed.
You heard it here first. Good luck with your business.
I don't know. I mean, I realize that, here's another thing. Of course, if it's slow, I try to look at it as an opportunity. Like, what is, I wanted to rearrange this section, I wanted to source some new product here in this department, I wanted to reorganize this workspace so that I could be more productive. Like, I do feel grateful for those times when it's slow and I can do some book work that I've been putting off or whatever else. I mean, it doesn't, just because it's slow sales wise, doesn't mean that you're not productive and you're not growing your business in a different way.
Well, right. I mean, I have things. I mean, the classic one is like, if it's slow, you have a chance to clean things. Yeah.
Janitorial.
Yeah, the toilet. What has been interesting for me is with these two stores, talking about slow seasons. We have the first location in Geneva that has been established. It's in its 5th year. And then we have the second location in Rochester, which is in its 1st year. And when we opened Geneva, it was just me. I think I've mentioned this, but when we opened Geneva, it was just me. And now we've opened Rochester and we have a manager there right out of the gate, which was an expense that we chose to go for.
You budgeted for it.
We budgeted for it. We needed it. But what has been interesting in this 1st year is those days that are really slow and quiet. I now have a buddy looking at me.
Like, you going to do something about this?
And I'm like, okay, this is fine. It's all
this
fine.
Is normal.
This is normal.
It ebbs and flows.
And
it's fine.
It totally is. And then I think back to when we opened at Geneva and it was just me. I had time like I can't even explain in that 1st year of business in Geneva. Maybe even into the 2nd year, because I had time, and this is my favorite way to say it, I was hand crocheting makeup remover circles. Like, as needed. Like, someone would buy one and be like, all right, let me sit down for 30 minutes and crochet.
I hope you were paying yourself a living wage for that.
But I wasn't.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I was working for peanuts, literally. And, like, I have some little like product cards from that 1st year of business that I watercolored. like with a paintbrush.
That seems
on a work day.
Yeah, that seems important.
But like no one was in the room looking at me going, hey, what are you?
Oh, I'm watercoloring. What are you doing?
And now we have this second store, and it's in its first year. It's behaving like a store in its first year. We see new people every day, but there are days that it's quiet, and I'm just like, yeah, we got to dust this shelf again. There's more of I definitely feel that like I have to explain myself, which why? Because sometimes I have to check myself and make sure that I'm not tying my own worth to the traffic in the store. But it's been interesting having somebody like see the slow days and experience the slow days with me. And I do know from many years in retail that it's normal, but it feels weird to be like, yeah, this is fine.
Well, I do think like if you're working at a major corporation, right, and the sales are down, that, or whatever, productivity in general is down, I doubt that it feels quite as personal and that you feel this weight of responsibility that, people could lose their jobs if you're not succeeding.
Right.
All this product could just sit here and go bad if I don't move it. Like there's not this kind of like crushing potential for failure on one person's shoulders.
Yes. So it's I don't know that I have an answer for like the best strategy to disconnect or draw a line. And I feel fine about that. We're not here to give answers.
Well, let's try to figure something out.
Nope,
like, what
I'm
are you going to meditate? You get like, what are we going to do? We got to end with some kind of like helpful.
Oh gosh. For me, I try to, if we're really going to take a stab at giving some advice here on this podcast, I guess for me, I try to check it when it becomes fearful. I really try to just slam the brakes when it becomes fear driven. And that when I feel a fear, that's when I say, this is not what makes me a worthy person. Like, this is not what makes me good enough. And fear only makes me worse at my job. It makes the customer feel uncomfortable. It makes me make bad decisions with it just poisons the whole thing. So for me, when I feel that fear creeping up, I start to go, okay, who am I? Who am I at the end of the day? It's not just this store. It's maybe your faith. It's maybe your family. It's maybe your talents. I don't know.
Hobbies.
Yeah. Pets, whatever it is. It's probably not only that.
And if it is,
commerce.
That's probably not healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
If it is, then, and I think that's fair to say, because it's easy to get so wrapped up and busy in your business that it all of a sudden eats your life.
Yeah, especially in the beginning where launching it demands so much.
Right. We're in the thick of it right now. I mean, I just said to my husband last night, I am aware of how wrapped up I have to be in this right now. But I think that's important to be aware of it, because that's where it just like eats you and you can't get out again. So, being really intentional about like taking time for myself, taking the day off that I say is going to be a day off, seeing people I care about, like doing my hobbies, like those are all ways that I remind myself that I'm more than just the business, and keep the fear, and that keeps the fear at bay, because that's just paralyzing.
Because I mean, if it goes away, if it goes away, you are still a wonderful, talented person
Right.
who had these great experiences, who built a great business, and that's worth doing.
Right.
And you will build a life that is beautiful and meaningful and rewarding, even should the worst happen.
And doesn't that just sound cliche and like what everyone would say to someone who's like,
it's probably true. I don't know.
that's what I mean.
I gotta tell you that.
Doesn't that just sound like, of course? And we
Yes.
all sit here and say, of
Yes.
course, but when you're alone,
Yes.
you know, in your business and nobody's come in the last 4 hours, you all of a sudden that stuff goes out the window. So I think, I don't know. It's just,
For me, when I'm alone in my business and let's say it's a blizzard. Let's say it's a blizzard and I'm alone in my business.
Take
no
a
employees
blizzard,
have
if
come
you will.
in because I've said, no, please don't come in. It's crazy outside. But of course I go in.
but of course you're there.
No, I do. Right? And then I'm standing in the front window display being like looking up and down the street being like, where is everybody? I can't have a $0 day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then I start to turn that inward like we talked about earlier. Like, I'm a failure.
Right.
I need to figure out why no one's coming in, even though I can see.
You can see.
why
It's a
no one's
blizzard. The
coming in.
tornado. The Wicked Witch of the West is flying by on her bicycle. Yeah.
Right. I got to turn it around too. Like, what can I do when nobody's here? Like, what can I do to be more appealing tomorrow after the plows come through or whatever? Just, you have to just turn this moment into an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
This disappointment needs to, go into the telephone booth and change into opportunity.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
Maybe
Write
that's
that
a
down,
real
Marilla.
coming.
Write that down.
All right. We need a photo booth and we need 2 superhero suits.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. So remembering who you are, kind of wrenching yourself away from the clutches of the business that you love dearly, and looking at the opportunities that hard times give you.
Yes, or the perspective.
And the perspective are 2 very important.
Oh gosh, good.
Very
I'm glad
important.
we pulled something out.
Just 2, like
try to make this like not the.
we're just I feel like those were just 2 carrots of wisdom that we
hope.
just really had to
We
yank
really
out
had
of
to
the
dig deep
ground.
for 'em. Yeah. They were
A lot
very
of
deep.
metaphors happening.
All right. Well, anything else on this topic, or are you ready to pop ourselves over to a 5-star review?
I think we've dug deep.
And, okay,
I
into the
think
garden
so.
of wisdom and experience, and now.
Who are you outside your business?
Oh gosh, no. No one wants to hear about that.
yes,
Marilla.
that's the point. Just one thing. Who are you outside your business? Yeah,
I'm a
see?
decorator.
Exactly.
Right.
You're a decorator.
Yep. I get a lot of joy out of, fiddling around with color and style and rearranging this or that and staging this or that.
Yeah,
So-
and your house looks great.
Well, thanks, Marilla.
I mean, the studio looks great.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun for me to do that, and it's very meditative and calming for me. So that's one thing.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that.
And we know when you're free time, you're a rock star, a jazz star, I should
You're
say.
also a photographer. Not to not
little
talk about
bit.
me.
A little bit, and then we
Yeah.
can talk about you.
Okay, yeah, you're a photographer.
I take some pictures.
Yeah, pretty great ones.
Thank you, Marilla.
Also, you have purple hair, which I love. I love to pour myself into music. I love
Very
to
talented.
weave.
Yes. Oh, yes. Your
Things.
textiles.
Yes, and love to cook. Things like that. Yeah.
You and I didn't know that.
I do not like to bake, so let it be known.
The only thing I think you've ever brought over here for me to eat was bread.
I didn't make that.
No. That's not how it was presented at the time.
I don't remember
Maybe
that
I just
at
made an
all.
assumption. You're like, oh, I thought I'd bring over some banana bread.
I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah, I probably didn't make that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's right.
I think we should end the episode
Okay.
now.
All right, 5-star review.
5-star review. Let us dole out one of our famous 5-star reviews.
We agreed this week that we would give it to Historic Geneva, our local historical society.
Historic Geneva, our local historical society. Specifically, their Instagram is kicking it lately. So this is not just for Geneva locals.
Oh, right. I suppose not. Anybody could access their Instagram.
Anyone in the world can access their Instagram. So shout out to Cork, Ireland.
What do you love about Historic Geneva?
Oh, well, I come from a big Italian family. I love that they post so many photos because I will screenshot them all and send them to my grandmother and be like, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? Did you date this guy? And half the time she'll be like, yep. So I love the photo memorabilia. Also as a musician, I love that they show lots of bands. One time they showed a picture of a venue that we play at here in Geneva, Club 86, and there was a woman ice skating in the venue.
Oh my.
Inside.
Holy cow. I love the properties. I love the exhibits. I love the docents. They're so volunteer-y, helpful.
Yes.
And we get a lot of tourists in our area. And I know that the docents are giving these folks good experiences and educating them about our area.
Yes.
They have put out books about our area.
They have great programs. I once churned butter at one of their properties as a child.
Well, at least they're doing a very good job, and I would like to give them 5 stars. Oh, I'm going to miss them. They're going to close soon, right?
Yes, they're closing for a small window in the spring, but don't worry. That's just one location. You can still visit all the different properties.
Have you ever been to a Historic Geneva History Happy Hour? Do you know what that is?
Yes. I've not been yet, but I love, love that
concept.
it happens here in Geneva. I have not been yet because I am lame.
I have been.
Amazing.
And we have Curator John Marks from Historic Geneva bringing history into a local bar once a month.
A local hero.
Really, if those folks aren't going to the Historical Society is going to them.
Going to you.
Yes.
And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And it is just a great way to make the community feel welcome. And that they do a good job of that.
And History Happy Hour happens at Lake Drum Brewing, which is on Castle Street in Geneva.
We chat about the biz, it is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or at tyfupod.com. Our theme music was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
I don't know why I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline. I don't listen to podcasts either.